Welcome back to my video, guys, and today we're gonna have a look at Next Game's financial statement bulletin for all of 2019. Now there's a lot of data and I'm gonna cover every single thing. Specifically, I want to cover the daily active users for Our World and No Man's Land, and maybe a little bit of other things, but I'm gonna link it in the description below so you guys can read the full document. Now before we start, I just want to point your attention to definitions of some words. So the first one is gross bookings, which is the total amount paid by users in virtual items for a given reporting period. Now the next one is the daily active user. So this is a user is counted as daily active if he logs in at least once in a 24-hour period, and the average is calculated by adding the total number of active users at the end of each day in a given period and then dividing by the number of days in that period. And then the monthly active users, which is how many times somebody logs in every month. So it's counted, a player is counted as a monthly active user if he logs in at least once in a 30-day period, and the average is calculated by adding the total of active players and dividing by the number of months. Right, let's begin. Okay, so there is a lot of data, right? And so as you can see, there is a lot of data. Something more important is that the company had 107 employees. So the things in bracket, the numbers in brackets are for the previous year, so it's a comparison thing. Obviously, they did remove a lot of employees back in I believe beginning of 2019. Something that's interesting here is that this paragraph where they're still gonna keep on working on both Our World and No Man's Land, so none of the games is getting shut. As people keep saying that Our World is over, it's finished, it's gonna get shut anytime soon. It doesn't look like from this. Something that's interesting here is that the last sentence, so the number of combined daily active users in both games decreased in from 2018, but the average revenue per daily active users grew by 24%. What this means to me, I'm not a math person, but what this means to me that the players that are staying to play, they basically are spending more, so that means that their profit grew, I guess. That's why, even though they lost players, but their profit still grew. So I guess people that are still playing are spending more. I think 75% were men, so 79% previous year, and 25%, a little bit of increase, are women. So this is an interesting statistic there. Now let's move on to the most important stuff, and this is the actual games in No Man's Land and Our World. So now, if you don't know, a Blade Runner was in public beta, but it was pulled back into production because I think they encountered some difficulties. So now it's still in production, so the only live games are only the Walking Dead games, and Stranger Things is also in production. So first table we're going to talk about is the combined key operational metrics. So this is for both Our World and No Man's Land, and this is interesting. So we're gonna start with at the very right column. So this is from 10th of December 2018. So the daily active users for that period for both games were just under 500,000 people, and this is nice, you know. Obviously I'm not going to talk about monthly active users or the amount of money they made. That doesn't really bother me. I just want to talk about the daily active users, and now you can see that this is starting to decrease by 40,000 in the beginning of 2019 for both games, which is interesting. I can't remember, actually, yeah, there was Guild Wars in No Man's Land at that time yet, still, and Our World had a bit of Hero of the Week missions, I believe, season 10 missions, and some other things. I can't fully remember what it was. Oh yeah, season came out back then. Okay, right, moving on to the 4th of June data. So as you can see, they basically lost 100,000 people back then. And this is interesting because I believe this was obviously we're gonna cover their specific tables for each game. This is the overall, but they did lose a lot of players between the 1st of March and the 4th of June. So that spring time definitely made a lot of people quit the games. And this is interesting. We're gonna have a look below. Moving on, the decrease keeps going, you guys, and as you can see, from the 4th of June until the 7th of September, the decrease was still big. I believe they lost like 50,000, 55,000 people, and this is a lot of people still, you know. And finally, something interesting happened there. So by the 10th of December, they actually gained people. So I suspect they lost people, but they also gained people, and the overall means that they actually gained 8,000 people. And this is probably because there's a couple of reasons, but gonna cover them below. This is interesting. So okay, so we're gonna look at again from December 2018. So the daily active users were 253,000 people. Okay, now this quickly starts decreasing. So by the 3rd of March, they have lost about what is it, 28,000 people. Okay, this was during the guild wars. They were still on. Then we had the season 10B missions. We had the campaigns, I believe, going on, but still people were quitting the game. Now there is a very big increase, in our opinion, between the 3rd of March and the 4th of June. And this is about 30,000 people, just over 30,000 people. And this was the time, that spring, where they said that they're gonna be removing guild wars so they can work on it. And I guess this resulted in players quitting the game. I mean, that's my explanation, because during that time there was a good update, which was the April update, and I believe this update brought the reroll ability to reroll survivor traits. Was it, or was it the update that brought the reinforcement tokens so that you can upgrade equipment? Anyway, one of those, but it was pretty nice update. And I kind of like it. I mean, I don't know why. Obviously I think Guild Wars had a big impact because people liked it, but they took it down because of obviously the server network things, you know. There was issues and problems with it, so they had to take it down, and this, I guess, resulted in players quitting the game. Moving on to the 7th of September, so there was the decreases keep happening over the summer, and they lost what, about 27,000 people. It was still a lot of people, you know, like just for that year they lost quite a lot. So they keep losing people because the guild wars are still not back. But interestingly, by the 10th of December, they actually gained over 20,000 people. And obviously, I guess they still lost people, but they also gained a lot more. And this was mainly because of a couple of reasons. So the first thing, I believe, was the arrival of Alpha, which is kind of like a big hero with the show in season 10. The next thing was the star mission, which fixed the challenge grind, which was a really cool thing, I believe. There was a lot of like new traits in the campaign, and you know, like stuff like that, and weapons. But there was also the beginning of season 10 missions and the season 10 in the show, so that usually brings traffic to these games, like new people coming in the games when the show is airing. So this, I guess, brought a lot of new people. And on top of that, to add to the cherry of the cake, it's the announcement of Guild Wars coming back. So that was, I believe, end of November, so that was, or beginning of December. That was basically just before they took the data. So on 10th of December, that was just before that. And this, I guess, made people to come back to the game to prepare for Guild Wars, because they were coming back. And Nenji actually gave a small plan of what exactly the new layout and the new format of Guild Wars is going to be. So this, I guess, brought old people back, plus introduced new people to the game because of the season 10 mission, because that's for a 3-month period there, that 20,000 people increase. Okay, so overall, our No Man's Land is doing quite well, actually, because obviously now we have the Guild Wars going on and there is no data for the January and February. The next report is like end of August. They're doing it now twice a year, so we won't know that until end of August. So looking at the 10th of December 2018, so they had 222,000 people. Obviously now from global launch this game had over 500,000, maybe 600,000, but they quickly lost players because they could not keep them playing, you know. There wasn't much happening in the game. So they lost over half of their active players. I think they lost like 400,000 or something like that. And that's a lot of dead accounts, you know. So maybe this auto kick had a purpose to come out, you know. Next up, they lost what? Oh, they only actually lost what, 12,000 people between 10th of December and the 1st of March 2019. So I guess the big loss there was for No Man's Land. and this is cool. Okay, they still had over 200,000 people. Now, moving on, between the 1st of March and the 4th of June, actually our world lost, oh my god, they lost just over 45,000 active players. Like, they literally just, the numbers just dropped. But I cannot, off the top of my head, I cannot remember what exactly was the main issue, but could have potentially made people quit the game, because that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people, 45,000 people. Anyway, moving on. So that summer, the declined in players kept increasing and kept happening. So between the 4th of June and the 7th of September, they lost another 25,000-ish people. And now this is the most interesting number change, is between the 7th of September and the 10th of December. All right, so now everybody or most people would know that during that period there was people got banned for exploiting, and social cooldown, a big game changer, was introduced, as well as other things. But there were a lot of people that kept saying that they're gonna quit the game because the social cooldown is gonna destroy the game, you know. And funny enough, they only lost 13,000 people, and compared to the players that they lost at the beginning of the year and also in summer, that is nothing really. That means that people did not really quit the game in a way. Like everyone was saying, oh, people are gonna stop playing because of social cooldown, but it seems like, you know, it seems like the game was fine with the social cooldown. Like, you know, maybe people quit, but because of the show they also gained numbers, so the decrease was less. But still, because also they gained numbers, the amount of players that they lost is nothing compared to what they lost in the beginning of that year, which was like you know, almost like what, 80,000 people or something, which was a lot more than 12,000 people. So yeah, everyone was making a big thing about the social cooldown, but it seems like the players did not quit the game. Now I really want to see the numbers for the last 2 months, and specifically for the later part in December, when there was the flare issues going and people were fed up with that. And obviously, you know, there were issues with the game that NG took a month and a half to fix. Also, they added during the 10th of December when I took the data, I believe they still did not have the daily and weekly missions, which I think are gonna help with the daily and monthly users, because there is basically missions that kind of ask you to log in at least once every 24 hours to complete them, so you can get cards and goodies. And now because they're also removing the item cap, you're gonna be able to get that free flare, Terminus map, you know, grenades and energy. So that's also nice, and maybe that's gonna keep those numbers high. So there you go. So they're not gonna do quarter reports like they used to. Now it's gonna be only half-year reviews. So that means that from January to June, it's gonna come out on Friday the 28th of August, and that's a lot of time to wait. That's still like what, 5 months ish to wait. So it's still a lot of time, you guys. And I obviously we're gonna see what the date has for spring as well. But yeah, so far it seems our world still has over 100,000 people. I really thought that they dropped to like 80,000 at least, but this is still promising stuff because they have over 100,000 people. No Man's Land, funnily enough, has more people, even though the game's been out for like what, 5th year now, and our world is just a year and a half old. So it's funny how they managed to keep more people active on No Man's Land than on our world. But anyway, that's it for now. You guys can read the rest in the description below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, see you all in my next